Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. So I'm going to start with a question. And if this just worked, you saw my screen change. I ask this question just to remind myself that I'm with people who think a lot like me. Now, I've been president of a sheet metal manufacturing company, and although I'm primarily a behavioral scientist, as a leader, it all comes down to one thing: results. So let me tell you about some results. Here's one that you might find intriguing. This is a company with a lot of sales problems and a revolving door on the office of sales VP. They promoted a purchasing manager to the top sales position. After 5 years of success as the leader of sales, the former purchasing manager was made chief operating officer. And by the way, she's had that job now for 6 years. Here's another one. This is a very fast-growing firm, about $1 billion in size, coming on 2, I think. They had a long-standing 30% turnover rate on new hires. They made one change in their hiring process, and almost overnight, their new hire turnover plummeted to 0. And their new hire turnover has remained virtually non-existent for more than 3 years, while the company's grown by over 700 people now. This is a multi-site manufacturer who launched a lean manufacturing initiative, and the managers they really did their best to make it work, but unfortunately the problems that were supposed to get better only got worse. Then they learned that people who do a good enough job at a workstation don't necessarily do well in collaborative teams. Guidance obtained from new technology completely turned the situation around, and performance has exceeded even their most optimistic hopes. And I heard from their HR director that they don't even need a quality control person anymore. By the way, don't worry about those people who no longer work there. The money that was saved enabled management to buy 2 more struggling companies, and now everyone has a secure job that they enjoy and can be successful at. Here's another one. This is a recently merged manufacturer of medical devices. They were doing really well until their sales started to accelerate. And that's when the severe issues and problems started to come up. That raised real concern about the possible loss of momentum and stalled growth. But with outside help, the executive team quickly learned how to change things for the better. Their growth continued to accelerate, but now it was accompanied by across-the-board improvements in 5 key problem areas, all of them involving the quality of team collaboration. So there you have it, 4 very different business problems and 4 very desirable business outcomes. The interesting thing about these serious real-world situations is that they were all resolved in almost exactly the same way. They used a new technology that identifies how people will perform on a team to solve problems, overcome obstacles, and achieve their common goals. It's a technology that took 25 years to create, including 9 years of software development, and it was based on ideas that have been at the forefront of my thinking for most of my professional life. We believe that it has the potential to bring about much-needed change that will shape the future of work. So let me give you a little backstory. At one point in my life, I worked in a hospital. It had never occurred to me that the way people team together could mean the difference between life and death. But in the emergency room, it does. Sometimes the team, doctors, nurses, all the rest, save people who otherwise would have gone straight to the morgue. And sometimes people who should have survived Well, they don't. They die because there was a lapse of attention or an unresolved difference of opinion, or no one was following the leader. It's not anyone's fault. It's the quality of their teaming that can make a life or death difference. So with your permission, I'm going to take you very briefly through some high points of a very long journey. And afterward, I'm going to show you how quickly the structure and performance qualities of a team can be identified once you understand team ability and how to apply it within your own organizations. It was back in the mid-1980s, and I'd been working on this problem for a couple of decades, actually. And I was really lucky to have met Dr. Jack Gerber, another behavioral scientist, who was thinking the way that I was. Each of us, independently, had gotten deeply involved in research on the concepts and dynamics of team interaction. So for us, teaming up was easy. Together, we spent years looking at every kind of measure there was. We reviewed every statistical method, too. There was nothing really wrong with them, but breaking human behavior down to parts and pieces just didn't tell us what we were after. The most frequently used measures at the time were intelligence tests, aptitude tests, values tests, and mostly personality traits tests. Some of them solicited your opinion or your preference. Some were more like puzzles, but most of them asked you how you would react. But you know, asking a person about how they react or how they think they might react is not the same as creating the environment where you actually elicit the reaction. And, you know, people don't always do what they think they'll do or even think they should do. We wanted to measure teaming, so we had to find a way to elicit teaming behavior. And we wanted to understand teaming relationships. So we first had to develop theoretical structures and then rigorously test them. And we came to the conclusion that after 50 years of measuring IQ and personality traits and all these neatly packaged components, that the study of psychometrics had gone just about as far as it could in getting to the heart of what makes a person, much less what makes a team. And we also believe that many, perhaps even most business leaders would agree with us that team chemistry comes from what happens between people, not what's inside them. So this became our central research question. What really happens when teams come together? Can we possibly measure that? You know, it was important because it's critical for all business activity. If you can measure, you can predict. And if you can predict, you can optimize your results. So intelligence and personality and other measures of a person's talents and skills can tell us a lot about people. That's why psychologists have been fascinated by these forms of measurement for, almost 100 years. But to us, the most important thing to measure was the one that would produce the human performance results everyone was looking for. We knew it wasn't going to be easy to do, but we also knew if we could succeed, we would be making a great contribution to our field, benefiting individuals as well as organizations around the world. All in all, it took 25 years of research, including 9 years of technology development, to identify and measure these 3 foundational elements of team interaction. We're going to take a look at each one of them individually, beginning with role. So as Dr. Jack and I persisted in our work, we found that nothing in our professional experiences had prepared us for this really big question. How would we describe and identify the people who made up the team? We know no real person could be adequately described by a set of psychometric scales, no matter how many you used, because when people interact, they interact holistically. So we came to the conclusion that we had to change our point of view. So we asked ourselves, what does an organization need? And do people just randomly fit in, or are different people called somehow to fill different organizational needs? And why is it that some people don't seem to be connectable in that way at all? We found that people usually have a specific way that they want to serve their team. And we decided to call it their role with a capital R. Some people even feel like it's their mission in life. And we recognized that with 10 essential roles, all of an organization's needs could be met, no matter how big or small. And so there are the founders who look into the future with ideas and products and technologies and methods that make life better for generations to come. And the vision movers, taking that dream of the founder and moving it into the realm of strategic reality. The vision formers, channeling and containing the fire and passion of the vision movers so that what the team does is more refined, more elegant, more doable. The action movers, those day-to-day heroes that just get stuff done, and the action formers who partner with them and follow up on every detail. The explorers use their sensitivity about the future to find and bring back treasures and identify and locate both opportunities and threats. The watchdogs, ever aware of the needs of the organization, and they're willing to take on the sometimes difficult task of making do with a little when people are demanding a lot. The conductors take on life's challenges, often with the knowledge that's cataloged and stored and provided by curators. And when it comes to making connections, well, communicators rule because they serve the big picture visions of founders by spreading the word to people everywhere. If you take some time to view yourself in the light of this model, you find a new appreciation for who you are and how you contribute and how your contribution connects you to the interdependent, collaborative structure of your organization. Now, here's an example of role distribution in a special interest group. This is a subgroup of a senior executive group in my hometown. I'm a member here. You have to be a proven entrepreneurial success to join this group. Everyone has built at least one company with millions or 10 millions or more in annual revenue. And interesting, every single one of them was either a founder or a vision mover or both. These are the roles that are typically driven to create and build organizations. Now, in contrast, this is a volunteer group that helps underprivileged children. This sample happens to include both management and administrative people, but as you can see, the distribution of roles is nothing at all like the entrepreneurs. But the roles on this team are a great fit to the mission of the team. Okay, back to my story now with the next element of team interaction, coherence. Now, Dr. Jack and I knew that every organization has the needs these roles fulfill, and in the grand schema, no single one of the roles is more important than another. On this foundation, we began to build an integrated theory of human infrastructure. And at this level, our focus on what happens between people on teams really paid off. We actually began to see how a workable system for predicting team collaboration could be achieved. Now, the next challenge we had was to identify that quality or capability that allows some people to take difficulties in stride while others may fall apart. Our search led us to coherence and how it relates specifically to the stresses that exist in team activities. See, coherence is physical, like coherent light or sound. You know, when you turn on a flashlight, the beam only lights an area close to you. But did you know that when a beam of coherent light from a laser reaches the moon from the Earth, almost 250,000 miles away, it lights a patch of the moon's surface just 1.25 miles in diameter. It's that focused. It's that strong. So can you imagine what coherence can do in human interaction? Now, it's no secret. Some perfectly excellent people can be vulnerable to stress and pressure. But by applying the concept of coherence to individuals and teams, we learned how to differentiate the states that diverge from coherence, one of which moves in the direction of rigidity and the other in the direction of diffuseness. There are very specific ways to help people who tend to team in rigid or diffuse ways to handle their stress and improve their focus. This ability to recognize and measure coherence enables both managers and team members to align job responsibilities, team structure, and team mission in ways that fit with coherence and also with other teaming factors. See, teaming all by itself is stressful, even when things are going well. People who team coherently can handle more stress, more change, more ambiguity, more pressure to deliver. In contrast, a team with comparatively low coherence can perform well, but under pressure, there are liable to be breakdowns. Now, think of what coherence can mean to the quality of communication in a team, especially a virtual or distance team. If the key notes are coherent, the message gets through clearly. But if not, you may have loss of information, unexpected delay, even misunderstandings. See, coherence is integral to all forms of team interaction, problem solving, creativity, and innovation, as are the attributes called teaming characteristics, which we're going to soon be considering. Just remember, stress is likely to have some negative effects in the workplace. The more coherently the people on the team interact, the less that stress will affect them. When you're aware of the effects of stress and which people are likely to do better in higher stress situations, you have a new perspective on the alignment of people and job responsibilities. Now we'll take a look at the third fundamental element of team interaction, teaming characteristics. Now, how a person teams is, by definition, dependent on team context. What's the team's mission? How's it supposed to be accomplished? What are the obstacles? How high is the level of effort required? And in what ways are people expected to add business value through their interaction with other people? Teaming characteristics, or TCs for short, help leaders align people appropriate to the business or organizational context in which they'll be performing. But teaming characteristics are not absolute. They're completely situational. You know, what fits well in one setting might not fit so well in another. Let me give you an example. So this is a high-level executive with a teaming characteristic that says she's not an up-close manager. Now, she's a high-level executive. If she were that close to her reports, trying to take care of all their needs, they would probably call her a micromanager or even a busybody. But the same teaming characteristic could be negative, potentially, in another situation. Let's consider the job of a call center supervisor. That requires a lot of personal assistance. You know, in a call center, you generally have less experienced people and they need more help, someone who's up close. Now, it's also possible for a person to have a teaming characteristic that isn't really relevant in their current position, but it could become either a benefit or a problem when the situation changes. This is important when you're thinking about changing someone's work assignment. But understanding how people team does much, much more than just improving the selection and assignment of people. It actually creates whole new strategies and methods for developing and managing and motivating them. So, having identified and measured the elements of teaming, it became possible for us to predict the ways that they interconnect, forming new elements of team management. Now, applying these methods can raise team coherence, generating improvements in productivity, product quality, job satisfaction, customer satisfaction, safety, and overall organizational performance. Now, role fit seems so logical, doesn't it? Just aligning what you want someone to do with who they really, truly are, the way that they want to contribute, it makes such sense. But very few companies actually do it this way simply because they lack the essential information. Just knowing the roles of their team members and the roles that the team requires. You see, it's just like understanding the fit between the roles on the team and the mission of the team. You now have a way to ensure optimal performance of that team. And there's more. Another extremely powerful element of team management is the principle of role pairing. The role that naturally partners with your own brings positive synergy and stress reduction to the whole team. That's because a team ability report is not just about you. It's about how you fit and connect with the structure of your team. Remember, you're part of the human infrastructure of your organization, and you add value by meeting, well, one or more of your organization's needs. Nowhere is this more important than in the leadership. The fact is, role pairing makes it possible to reinforce the collaborative structure of a team. And it's just one of several management methods that leverage the power of this new technology to create business benefits. The teaming element, called role respect, is another method for creating strong teams. People of different roles experience appreciation and respect in different ways. In other words, respect is not generic. To be truly effective in expression of respect or appreciation, or even your communications as a leader, needs to be congruent with the way in which that person seeks to make meaningful contributions to the team. I'm going to give you some examples. So vision movers who drive a visionary concept into strategic reality just need you to get with the program. Vision movers are very often the high level and the highest levels of management in organizations. That's because they were the original people who said, lead, follow, or get out of the way. And actually, as vision movers, and I am one, we'd prefer that people follow. This is just a very, very common role in hard-driving managers and executives. It's what's required, and it's the way that as a leader you may be contributing to your organization. Now, to respect your vision mover, you need to get with the program and do it. Now, there's one role that vision movers tend to not readily understand and often even find irritating, and that's the conductor. Now, that's because while vision movers are looking far ahead with plans and strategies and analysis, conductors are the problem solvers. They're the fixers of the world. They experience respect when you let them know how pleased you are that they've taken care of those small problems that keep cropping up and getting in our way of doing our best work. You know, things like when the copy machine breaks down or the computer connections aren't good. You know, doing things the right way is also very important to a conductor. And that means that they look down, down, down into every detail. Now, isn't it easy to see how a vision mover who makes big picture decisions could easily clash with a conductor who's going to seem overly concerned with the details? But understanding each other and appreciating and respecting each other in a way that the other person experiences it helps you get past all of those clashes. Here's another example. Now, for action movers, those are the hard workers whose time always seems to be fully booked or usually overbooked. For them, respect means having your efforts recognized along with a thank you for your time and attention. See, to the action mover, time ranks high on the scale of importance. But communicators who bring everyone closer to the vision by spreading the word, well, they tend to lose track of time. And that's why problems can arise with action movers who have that ongoing sense of urgencies. For business owners, managers, leaders of all kinds, knowing what to expect from different roles, how to pair people, and most critically, how to express respect effectively, well, that can quickly develop the positive results you're looking for. So, let's say now you're leading a team and you want to make good use of role pairing and role respect, two very powerful elements of team management. I mean, how do you know who fits where? Let's take a quick look at a business process diagram so that I can help explain how this works. You may be familiar with these, but if you're not, management theorists Gary Rumler and Alan Braish conceptualized what came to be known as swim lane diagrams to illustrate how business process flows really work. Now, these diagrams make it crystal clear that process problems are most likely to happen where a handoff takes place, and that's usually a human interaction. Unfortunately, when there's no way to identify the quality or reliability of the handoff, there's no way to know whether the problem or the potential solution will be found in the people or in the procedure, or even both. So we needed a way to do something similar to diagram and communicate teaming relationships. So I'm going to introduce you now to a new way to diagram a business situation. It's not a replacement for swim lane diagrams and other methods, but it's a very valuable adjunct to them. So on the team target diagram, the roles are positioned opposite their partners. So as members of a team are plotted according to role, all the role pairings present on the team are immediately recognizable. Coherence is also made very clear by location on the diagram, with the coherence at the core, just like the core of a building holds up the building. See, when you really know who's who on the team, it's fairly easy to identify team structural issues, such as missing or mismatched roles and role pairs. This information supports solutions for managing and motivating both individuals and teams. So let me show you how this might typically take place. Now, since business teaming always happens in the context of the business needs and requirements, you begin a team analysis by considering the context. So you start by asking yourself, what's the mission of this team? And which roles are best aligned with that mission? Now, in this case, it was a customer service team. And the 4 roles that were really critical to being able to get this work done have orange outlines on them. The action movers, those day-to-day heroes, the conductors who solve the problems, the communicators who are so friendly and nice that everyone likes to have customer service from them, and that action former who makes sure that everything is organized on time and everyone delivers what's needed. So, you ask yourself that, and then you fill in the diagram with the structural information gathered from the people's team ability reports. Then you can ask questions like, who's on this team already in terms of their roles and coherence? Do they have the role partners they need? Is the coherence level sufficient to deal with, what are the stress factors? Ambiguity, time pressure, precision execution, can be anything. And then this one simple diagram can tell us what we need to do, from modifying job responsibilities for better role fit, or adding different roles to create role pairs, or improve the team fit. Now, you can start just about anywhere because the basic principles are the same. You identify an area for improvement, and you decide which of your existing metrics or key performance indicators you want to improve. Then we design a proof of concept pilot that compares existing practices or results to the change that occurs when the elements of teaming and team management are introduced. Here are the parts and pieces of a team analysis pilot. They're simple, they're straightforward, and they're not very expensive, especially considering the business value they can produce. The methodology is effective with any size team. You only need a focal point or definition for what you want to investigate. Team ability reports for the team members, and as little as an hour or two of help from us to see what's really going on within a team. We've seen meaningful positive change come simply from team-wide understanding of the fundamental differences between roles and the leader reinforcing the idea of respect. Team ability fills in blank spaces that can mask both the strengths and the structural problems of a team. And it answers compelling questions about processes, cultural issues, quality issues, workplace safety, innovation, and more. It does this by translating information about teamwork that had formerly been communicated only through anecdotes, past experience, and gut feel into measurable, reliable, repeatable management practices. Note these intense positive effects you get when you just improve role fit, let people know who their role partner is, and match the roles on the team to the mission on the team. For a very long time, people in the workplace have been treated as though they're simply a conglomeration of their IQ, their resume experiences, their skills, and maybe some other attributes. This practice persists to this day, even though it's no longer working well in a world of virtual teams, globalization, generational differences, and cultural change. One thing strong leaders do well is they look for new solutions to old problems. So let's go back to the beginning of this presentation and take a fresh look at those 4 situations we talked about. Some of you may be familiar with Rich Karlgaard, who's the publisher of Forbes magazine, and he said very clearly and very simply, teams matter. Talent is not enough. As this 21st century of ours goes on, the idea that great organizations are created by hiring only the best and the brightest is falling by the wayside. In its place is a new understanding of teamwork, team management, and the importance of great leaders becoming great team players. So let's go back, and I'll tell you, in that recently merged organization that was rapidly crumbling under pressure, the CEO took action by examining and understanding the core structure of his team and mandating changes that strengthen team collaboration. And oh, that revenue growth, it's even steeper now. In this example, the chairman of this global consumer products company completely rejected the idea of promoting a purchasing manager to the VP of sales. But as he saw team ability bringing benefits to other areas of the company, he reconsidered. And oh yes, he was greatly rewarded. Many leaders assume that certain problems, like this one, the 30% new hire turnover, are completely unfixable. And many leaders will just write them off as a cost of doing business. This CEO had tried repeatedly to solve the problem and refused to give up until he found the answer. And in this example, where a crucial business transformation was failing miserably, the message of team ability provided hope. Company leaders embraced that hope, and they learned that teamwork adds value from top to bottom and from bottom to top. And now, I thank you all for your interest and for your attention, and I wish you all good fortune in all your endeavors, because it's question time now.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Janice, for a very interesting presentation, folks. Q&A time. You could either raise your hand or you could put your questions in the question box. And let me go straight to the first caller. We have a regular caller, Dr. Muhammad. You've raised your hand, sir. Could you please introduce and ask a question?
Yeah, hi, Dr. Janice. Very one of the best presentation I heard from Mile, and I introduce myself. I'm a professor here in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I teach management and marketing. And the very first, it's some small questions I have. So one is, what about when you're talking about the role pairing? The action movers seems to be a bit busy, and like time is always running for them. And when we have pairing with the conductors who are more in detail and problem solvers, so you think there can be some kind of a synergy with them? There's a first question, if you permit me. The second question is that perhaps yes, team has evolved a lot, and now the technology has taken place, and the synergy, the energy, it's coming up. But Dr. Janice, when you was looking forward, moving forward, where technology is going at a very high speed, and virtual teams have taking place, substituting, especially in globalization, diversity is taking place. So what you think, what strategy you think, like to have the same synergy and power of team moving forward, since you are into being a scientist, so your comments will be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. These are two wonderful questions. First, let me say, although there were action movers and conductors working together on that team, the actual role partner of the action mover is the action former. The action movers are experts in deployment. They get things started, so they are the ones who will take that team out to act on the strategies that the vision mover and the vision former worked on. The action former does the types of jobs that we might think of as project management jobs. So they check off. In fact, I always think of them as having the clipboard with the checklist. They check off things and make sure that every detail has been finished. So, for instance, if you have a manufacturing company, they would make sure that the order has come in, but that it is also shipped to the quality level and that the customer is happy with it. So they make sure that the end-to-end happens. And that's where that synergy comes from. Now, I'm very delighted that you have asked about virtual teams. And in a slide coming up, my email address will be there. And if anyone is interested in virtual teaming, I will be happy to share a paper with you on that very subject. One of the things very important to virtual teams is that the coherence level, the manner in which people will team together, becomes higher. While we might not think of virtual teaming as stressful, think about it. When you need to work with someone and you can't see their body language and look them in the eye, it's a little more difficult. So the clarity, the sharpness, we even use the term laser focus of the people becomes much more important. And then virtual teams can be more successful even than teams that are in the same location. It is absolutely the future. Thank you for those. Do we have another question?
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad, for your...
Thank you, Mr. Ali.
Thank you. Thank you, Indy. Thank you,
Ali. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, sir. Let me move to question box. We have a question from Mr. Alfonso Sagavila. The question is there any relevant and or specific differences between cultures or countries when applying this new approach?
I asked myself that question first, and I am so deeply grateful that the first company that tested this was a global company. And so it has been used in the Middle East, it has been used in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, in Europe, in North and South America. And we tested not only for nationality, which was unique. People didn't think about that, but it was important to me. But I also looked at age, because we tend to think of younger generations as being different. Of course, that's usually when we forget that we used to be the younger generation. But we looked at gender, we looked at race, nationality, and it does not matter, because the way in which you want to contribute to your team is independent of that. It's like your mission in life, and so that is separate. Now remember that the area in which you develop expertise or special knowledge or practice will be important to the job that you do. You know, I always say, you know, some people will make very good accountants, but if they never learn their numbers, they are not going to be, even though they want to contribute in that way, they'll probably be better contributing in something similar. So there are jobs that are similar from location to location and place, but all teams, no matter where they're located, the culture or anything, still require these same 10 things. Someone to come up with a big dream, someone to drive it to strategic reality, someone to make that plan better, the people to put it into action, the explorers and the watchdogs. It's the same functions. And at heart, we are all human. And hopefully we have all been given our mission in life, and we will get the chance to achieve it. That's why Madinah Institute is so important, because leadership and entrepreneurship are built into human spirit. They are not confined to only one group or another.
Thank you very much for a very detailed answer. Let me move to another caller. We have a caller who raised his hand, Mr. Khwaja Sheikh. Mr. Khwaja Sheikh, could you please introduce yourself and ask the question?
Sure. This is Khwaja Sheikh from Bank of America, United States. My question is, there is a school of thought that says a person's weakness can be eliminated by deliberate practice. What is your perspective on leveraging strengths of a team member versus providing an opportunity for a team member to move beyond his comfort zone by giving the opportunities around his weaknesses?
That's one strategy, but an easier way to develop someone is to make their strengths even stronger, because when there is a little saying that I wrote many years ago, people do best what they like best, and people like best what they do best. A weakness in me, if that is your strength, is an opportunity for us to partner together. How much more collaborative can we be if we do the different things that come together and form the synergy? And that's true whether we are doing this as a partnership, as a business partnership, working together on a team, or anything else. When people focus on their weakness, they often, so when we cause them to pay attention to things that we think of as weaknesses, what we do is we take away from their feeling of fulfilling their mission or purpose in life. When we have them focus on that and tell them and respect them for that and appreciate them for that, then we find that together, we come together and the different members of the team contribute in different ways. And so there are never fights over who gets to be, you know, to do one job or another. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you. And by the way, I am a Bank of America customer.
Okay.
Thought I'd mention that.
Thank you.
Global business is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Sheikh, for your question. Let me move to the question box again. We have Mr. Najood Al-Sahili. The question is, hi, I would like to know how to encourage groups and motivation, especially if they are in a big group.
This is when a team analysis is extremely effective. And I'll give you a little bit of insight into how it's done, and if you are interested, you certainly can contact me and I will send you some material on it. But first of all, I will tell you that it's for a team up to 10 people. It is $3,500 US. Sorry, I don't know the conversion rate today, but that's less than that number in euros if you watch the euro rate. For that, everyone on the team gets their own report, but the leader gets a deep analysis of the team and all of the opportunities for people to understand each other. And that's done by GoToWebinar or GoToMeeting or Skype or things like that. And then the leader understands how to talk individually to each person to drive their motivation that is already inside them. We're not creating the motivation as much as we are tapping into that spirit that's already inside the person. And then by everyone understanding everyone else on the team, it's amazing how quickly people get it. They start to understand where they may have felt, oh, this person is an annoyance, or, why is he getting in my way? They start to see that they do not have to do it all, that in fact the interdependency makes the structure of the team that much stronger. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess yes, thank you very much. And we have one last question. Young people today do not seem to want to work the way we do. How can we deal with this generation?
We say that every generation, I think, and I am definitely older probably by, many years than most of you, and so I've seen more generations come up. And the most important thing I have learned is that when young people come into our organization, if they are given work that aligns with their role, and if we give them the level of stressful environment, and sometimes stress is good. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably like what other people call stress. If we can just align that and introduce them to the other members of their team in that same way, where they understand each other's role, where they feel respected immediately, they actually have the same work ethic as those of my generation. And, we work very, very hard. I won't tell you how many years I've been working because it's a very big number. But, it is very different when you feel that what you are doing really is a contribution to something far bigger than yourself, when you're really meeting that mission in life. Now, if I can have just another couple of words, I want to tell you that I have a little gift for you. If you send me an email, there's my Twitter, my email address, and my blog. I have an ebook. You can get the hard version if you want, I think, on Amazon. But since it is about what is important to all of you, I would like to offer it to you as my gift. You just need to tell me which file you need, because Kindles work on a different file system than iPads or anything like that. If you don't have a tablet and you read on a computer, you want other. And then there's an app that can be downloaded. And thank you very much leadership of Madinah Institute. It has been delightful to be with you.
Thank you very much, Janice. But we have Mr. Najud just wanted to have a quick comment to discuss. So let me try to unmute him. Yes, Mr. Najud Al-Sahli, could you please introduce yourself and ask a question?
Yes, hi.
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Please, go ahead.
Okay, that's great. I am Najud Al-Sahli from Madinah. I'm a businesswoman. I have my own business, and I'm a lecturer in the university as well. I just wanted to discuss this with the doctor. Is it right that dealing with the new generation, especially like my students, that I go with them with what they think, with their technology? I always try to evolve myself in their thinking, in their way of life, instead of making them understand my life. Is that right or wrong?
It is useful, I believe, to go both ways. Young must learn history. They must learn what their elders have gone through, our struggles, our desire to grow, and our dreams to leave a better world behind for them. But it's also useful if we know what they're doing. You know, it's very interesting. You have your age, and I guess I'll tell you, mine is 68. And then you have your digital age. And
yes.
My friends have said, well, you are digitally speaking, you are only 16 or 17. And that's because I have a Twitter and a blog. I've been on Twitter practically from the beginning, and a blog. And because it has fascinated me that this has allowed us to break down global barriers. That people on one side of the world can form relationships. That brings, I believe that all peace springs from our doing business with each other and knowing each other. And isn't it amazing how young people have caught on to this so strongly? So I do that. But
that's great.
But I'm not friends with my children on Facebook. I'm just saying that.
Even me, I'm not friends with my students.
Yes.
We can't be.
We're not their friends. We are their leaders.
Yeah, exactly.
But they are our future. And so we are a universal team. We old and the young. And when we work that way, we can only accomplish even bigger things.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Sister Najud, for a very, very interesting comment and interaction. Once again, thank you, Dr. Janice Presser, for a very intriguing presentation. I would like to thank you especially on behalf of Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, Mile, for taking the time. Any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out?
That I did not put those contact informations there just to fill a slide, that I welcome any contacts and your comments and your requests for knowing more or anything else. It has been delightful, and thank you very much for having me. Have a wonderful evening. Thank
you very much, and thank you all of those who participated in this webinar. We have already broadcasted the link from where you can download it, the soft copy of this presentation that was illustrated by Dr. Janice. It's on community.mile.org. The recorded version will be uploaded in the next couple of days, so please stay tuned to community, and also do not forget to visit hpho.mile.org, the High Performing Healthcare Organization's flagship program scheduled to be commenced in the month of November in Madinah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. With that note, I would like to end this webinar. So you all have a good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling from. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.